Okay, hello, good evening. My name is Pedro Fernández. I'm a lawyer. I'm a corporate partner of the law firm Cuatrecasas, and I advise on mergers and acquisitions, and also I lead the venture capital and startup area of the firm. This is my fourth year here in the summit. The first year we made a presentation that we call what to expect when you are expecting. We try to summarize this state of anxiety that you have when you're pregnant, basically when you have a startup and you have been talking with a venture capital and you are waiting for the terms and conditions of the investment. This was the first year. The second year, the title was The Baby is Here, so what? We try to analyze once you have the venture capital sitting with you in the board, sitting with you in the day-to-day, which are the key things. And now we have developed this presentation, which is the key legal matters. But the most important thing of the key legal matters is that the legal matters are key. I mean, this is the next big thing. No? This is about innovation. And you are seeing a lawyer in innovation. So you're thinking, Jesus, I don't need a lawyer in innovation. But the bad thing is that without legal matters, there is no next big thing. So how do I envisage the tough world of an entrepreneur? I envisage something like this. Have you seen it? It reminds me, it's not very well designed because I'm a lawyer, I'm not a designer. It's like these maps of the Second World War, and I envisage the entrepreneur, the founder, like the army, working in many different fronts. You have the Western Front, which is in the Eastern. The Western Front is like the finance, the cash. If you run out of cash, you're dead. The Eastern Front is the product. You need a product. If you don't have a product, you don't have anything. Then you have the winter headquarters, where you retire, is the human resources. Without the right people, you don't have anything. You need to attract and you need to retain the talent. Then you have the marketing, then you have the waterfront, the digital business. You have to sell yourself in the internet. You have to make your company visible without the means that other big companies have, the cash. And then you have this little thing that we have called the Geneva Convention in the world, which is the legal matters. So I understand that the time and the money are very limited assets in a startup, but if you can only choose one thing to learn in this presentation is think about the legal matters. When you have the time and you have the means, think about them. Okay. What we have speaking about here in the type of startups that we see here is a model that could be something like this. I guess that you are not thinking in incorporating a bakery or another kind of groceries shop, which can be very good for you and your family. What we are thinking about here is about innovation. It's about develop something which is new and that you need money. You need to burn a lot of money before this company is profitable. So you probably need to build a line of investors. So do we have? No. So you have first the incorporation of the company, then you have the founders, then you have the next round of money that you get in the company probably comes from your friends and your families. Then you may have business angels or seed capital. They can be mixed. You may have the seed before the angels, the angel before the seed all together. And then comes the real player or the big players. All of them are real. Then comes the venture capital. And then you have a first venture capital that enters into the company in A series. Let's imagine an investment round of 1 million. Here in Spain and in Europe, the A series some slower, some less bigger than in the US, but you can have an A series of 1 million. And then you have, if everything goes well, a B series, a C, D, F series, and then everybody thinking on the same thing, the exit. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because of the exit. The founders and everybody else will exit the company at some point. This exit can be a listing. The company is public, so the shares are listed, and everybody can sell the shares in the market because they are liquid. They can be done on a regulated market. But what defines this model? This model is, what defines is that it's a model of coexistence. The founders will have to exist in the company to share the company with the angels, with the friends and families, and with the VCs. And the first VC will have to sit together with the second, with the third, and so on. Okay? So what is important here? It's important that at some point you will have to do the full Monty, like the movie. You have to do the full striptease with these guys. Probably you will miss that with your friends and your family, but when professional investors come into your company, they will ask you to show everything, because they will be investing the money for the clients. And since something goes wrong, because they did not the appropriate due diligence, they did not review the papers, the model, everything properly, they will be liable. So what they will do is basically to request to the founder, to the shareholders of the company, to disclose everything. And this disclosure, this full Monty, this full striptease of the founders will be linked to liability. This is pretty much the same if you think as when you're buying, for example, I'm buying a car from you. If I'm buying a car from you, and I'm a lawyer, probably I will request you to say that the car runs properly or runs reasonably, but you will have to say something about the car. And if then I pay the money and I try to start the engine and it doesn't work, I will do something. Probably ask for another lawyer. But this is the same in the company. If somebody is putting money, well, they will be requesting in an investment agreement probably amounting from 50 to 100 pages. But basically what the founder will be saying is that the company fulfills all the legal obligations, including tax, labor, licenses, IP, data protection. We will be digging a little bit more later. And if that is not true, you will be liable, or the company will be liable. You will have to pay back that funds, that money. So this is, legal matters are key. Is what it can happen here is that it may happen that you are liable in the future, or your company will be liable in the future, or it may happen that the investors run away. So have you heard about this? Have you heard about a famous case from Theranos and a founder called Elizabeth Holmes? It happened some months ago in the US. Theranos, it is a company that invented a new process of blood testing. Have you ever gone to do blood testing? Yeah, I guess you've done it. You have to go 8 o'clock in the morning. Why? We do the blood testing and we say you have to come 8 o'clock in the morning. Then you have to wait for weeks. And well, here in Spain, typically you don't pay it because it's covered under the insurance, the Social Security insurance. But in the US, you pay $2,000, $3,000 for that blood testing. In Theranos, they invented a test that you can do by yourself at home. It costs like $50 or $40, and the results are like in less than 1 week. The company they received funds from the venture capital, and it was valued in 10 billion. So the fortune of the founder, Elizabeth Holmes, was about 4.5 billion. But it happened at some point that the market discovered that the tests were not, very well. In other words, or I would say, speaking in silver, it doesn't work. So if you read the article, what it said, I think thinking well, not thinking bad, what it's saying is that much of the due diligence, the red flags were forgotten or ignored. This is an extreme case because if somebody cheated or somebody did something wrong, it doesn't have to be linked to the due diligence process. But what I want to point out is that the legal thing and to think that the legal matters of your company are important has to be done from the scratch. And we run out of time. Here, in my experience, well, I don't know, maybe hundreds of startups investment rounds that I've been doing, these are probably the 6 top key elements that you have on a startup, and you would have to think about it at some point. First one is the IP, the propiedad intelectual, intellectual property. Again, if we are speaking about a bakery, IP is not very important. But if we are speaking about a software company, a platform on internet, a security company, the intellectual property is key. Yesterday I was on the arena when Alberto Yepes, the managing partner of Trident Capital, he said that for him, the most important key on investing in a company is to have a clean track record on the intellectual property. So you have to think about that. You have to think who owns the intellectual property, and don't do the typical mistake that we sometimes see. For example, it's, don't worry, I developed this patent or I developed this software on another company with another partner, but he's my friend, don't worry, he will be transferring all this at some point. So think about this, think who had access to the intellectual property. I think that you always have to know that the control of this clean line of traceback of the intellectual property is yours, okay? And then, of course, think if it is valuable or not to register the intellectual property. Second thing that I would raise on this forum probably is the third one, is the data protection. The rules about data protection in Spain are very tight. Probably are the tightest in Europe, and far, far beyond the fines that are imposed, for example, in the United States. If you are speaking, again, about a company that has thousands of records of your clients, and you have records which are key, for example, medical records, you have to be very careful how you treat this data, how you store it, how you communicate then to the data protection agency, and so on, because the fines can be enormous, and the fines are 1 fine for each infringement. 10 infringements, 10 fines. And if we are speaking about a word that everybody knows, which is big data are megadatos. Megadatos are mega infringement, and mega infringement are mega fines, so you're dead. Next one that I would raise, which are very, very important, are contracts. Not the contract of the maintenance of the air condition of the company or the loan of the premises, but the contracts that are key for your business, you should take care and review them very carefully. For example, if you have general conditions that you know this, that sometimes when you buy or you sell says that your general conditions are on your web page and you link to them and you are obliged by that general conditions, I mean, maybe it works, but maybe don't. But my advice is don't copy and paste the general condition of other companies. Just think if they are properly drafted or not. And again, if you are doing something which is core for your business, this contract, this selling agreement, these papers that are defined for this transaction that is core for your business, think them carefully and think them with a lawyer. Labor. Well, what happened with labor? What happened with labor is that typically we see in I'm not going to say all the startups, but nearly all the startups, is that they have temporary contracts, contratos de arrendamiento de servicios autónomos, which in fact are not temporary contracts, are not autonomous, are not rendering of service. They are labor agreements. From a labor point of view, labor regulation point of view, they are labor because they are spending all the time in your company and in your premises. I mean, if you have just incorporated a company and you have 3 guys and their salary is very low and you just a startup, it's just a situation that you keep some months, I mean, I'm not going to say do it because I will never say that, but you will not bet the life of your company on that. But if then suddenly you have 50 employees and the median salary is 50,000 and you've been doing that for 3 years, you have a problem. You have a problem that you may not be able to resolve at that time. Well, the ESOP and the payment in kind, the stock option plan and the payment in kind is also something that you need to think carefully with a tax lawyer, because as you know, startups, a good method for startups to take and maintain and retain talent is to give a stock option, to give promises of future staking holdings of the company. But sometimes those plans are not very well designed and can trigger taxes without receiving money. Imagine that you are an employee, you are granting these stock option plans. After working in the company some months or some years, you receive those shares. You may have to pay an enormous amount of taxes, but you only receive the shares. You didn't receive the money. You even don't know if at some point there will be an exit with money. So this is something that you have to take care. Tax. I mean, tax is everything. Tax is labor, tax is contracts, tax is IP. Anything which is core for the company has a tax side. And if it has a tax side, it has to be defined carefully. And another thing which doesn't seem very important, but it is the company books. I don't know how many of you have a company or have ever been with a real company. Under Spanish law, all the decisions of the general shareholders meeting of the partners of the company and of the board of directors has to be stored on a book, which is, okay, I will do it at some point in the future. The problem is that if you don't have that book, in addition that you can have fine from the, Jesus, I have 1 minute. They promised me that there will be a bite with 5 minutes, but they didn't do it. No problem, no problem. I will not sue you. Okay, this is important because otherwise, when a venture capital wants to enter into the company, they will not be able to track down the history of the company and to see if you have any decision that implies a potential liability. And just to finish, then the other big thing of legal that you have to carefully design and think is the investment. When you see all the investment rounds, all these that we have been commented, and this liability, this will be crystallized on an investment agreement. And all these points that you see here, they will be points of negotiation that the venture capital will request. Here, I only advise 2 things. First of all is, do not Google. I mean, it's like you go to the doctor, they say that you have something on a letter, you Google, and you think, Jesus, I'm dying. This is the same, do not Google. And the other advice is, do not read everything. Don't go and sit in front of the venture capital saying, hey, wait. I read what Google did or what Steve Wozniak did. Yes, but you are not Google, you are not Steve Wozniak, so take care. And just to finish, if I can only want one thing to negotiate with a venture capital, don't repeat that when I am advising the venture capital, but if I can only choose one thing, one battle that I want to win is never assume personal liability. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Thank you very much. Very interesting.